of assistance can we get and these kind of things. And I went to that website the very next day, and there was a link on that website to the SBA to file for a standard SBA loan.
That was the extent of their preparation at that time. Yeah. A link to the SBA,
yes,
so that you could get a standard loan in the midst of a state and perhaps national shutdown.
Correct.
In the midst of a global pandemic.
Yes.
Say on.
And again, it was one of those things where it's like, well, first of all, that's a link. It's not we have a link for you to talk to the federal government. This was touted that this was the state's plan
yep.
for you to be able to stay in business. And at the time, the SBA, of course, they're scrambling to come up with a program. You had the president, you had Congress. I don't care which way people vote, but everybody was scrambling to come up with a plan. While it was a crisis-driven decision, then it was after the decision, I don't think there was quite enough time spent pontificating on how we're going to resolve this. We don't know how long it's going to last. We don't know what's going to happen. And of course, the focus needs to be on the healthcare scenario. Mm-hmm. But on the other side of that is, what about those of us that are healthy? That's all we need to do is work. We need to keep America moving forward. So the SBA did, after a few days, be able to come up with a more accelerated plan than filling out all the paperwork that you would normally do for an SBA loan. But in the meantime...
And by the way, that was the EIDL and the PPP?
Those came later.
Okay.
Those came later. Originally, it was just filing for an SBA loan. And then, of course, it's like, wait a minute. Now the government has told me that they're shutting me down, but I have to take out a loan and pay the government interest to be able to hopefully stay in business.
Pretty interesting perspective.
Yeah, it was an interesting kind of a take. And it's like, but when you're in survival mode, right? If I have to take out a 7% loan to stay afloat for the next 6 months, that's really what I have to do.
That's what you have to do.
And so we were willing to do that. So we went through, that process, and every day just kind of looking for a little more guidance as to what's happening and so on. But also in the same light was the frustration of who's staying open, who's not, who gets a waiver, because then I think the first response to the individual outcries for the businesses were, well, you can apply for a waiver. And if you're considered to be an essential business, then you're allowed to keep doing business. Right. Well, once that started, everybody was pretty happy and we could file for a waiver. But I know personally of companies in Washington County that do the same work, and this guy got a waiver and that guy didn't. But we're doing the same kind of work. And it seemed like an arbitrary kind of selection process.
That's correct.
And we had to input.
Which, by the way, is being investigated right now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
There's some people drilling down on that, wanting to know that process of them picking winners or losers. And frankly, that's what was done.
Yep.
Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, absolutely. That's what it felt like. Yeah. And again, like I said, with a lot of the small business people that I've been communicating with, that's exactly what it felt like. How is it that this electrician's allowed to go and work on a similar project in an unoccupied home, right? And I'm trying to do the same thing over here on a commercial job, and you're telling me no.
Well, and along those lines, and I know we're going to get into some other aspects of, public perception, but a couple of things I wanted to interject that you brought up that are very, very valid points. Number one, about 2 weeks ago, we drilled down on in the Pennsylvania Constitution, there is a Declaration of Rights, okay? And the first Declaration of Rights, what is enumerated in there is that we have an inalienable right to life and liberty, but it doesn't stop there. And it goes on to say to acquire, possess, and protect personal property, and then pursue happiness. Okay, so what you're talking about is exactly that it is an inalienable right to acquire, possess, and protect property, which your home is, which your truck is, which your property in the home, your small business is property. I mean, that's no joke. And most people, Jim, don't know the guts and the faith and the perseverance that it takes to really go out and start your own business. I mean,
Right.
the average Joe doesn't want any part of that.
Right.
And a lot of people criticizing the self-employed or small business owner who simply want to go back to work.
Right.
A lot of those individuals really don't have the GUTZ to do what you did to start the business to begin with. So it's quite easy for people to be the armchair quarterback and go, why does old Jim really want to go back to work anyway when he could just stay home and be behind his mask? But you bring up that interesting point. But go ahead. I didn't want to.
No, that's okay, because even along that same line was that when all this was going on, there's a Facebook group called What's Going On in Washington County.
Right.
And so, I kind of got involved in that because I belong to the group, and you kind of look at it from time to time. But I started seeing all these businesses starting to talk about wanting to stay open and how come we can't and what are we doing and how can we fix that. But then on the same thing, this group there's a few thousand people, I think, in this group. Then you had a lot of the people coming on board on the comments about, how selfish are you? Because you were you want to go out and get people sick so that you can make $1. Like it was that your desire to earn a living, right, is a selfish thought process.
I see that, and I've been attacked of the same thing.
Yeah,
say on.
Yeah, and again, it was one of those things where it's like, no, it's nowhere did I ever see anyone say, right, I want to go out, I'm going to work, I don't care what you say, I don't care about public health. Every small business that was involved there probably alluded to at one point or another, right, that the public health and safety is obviously primary.
Absolutely.
Absolutely primary. Now, we need to be able to have some kind of a happy medium where there's a safe way for us to conduct our business and we can conduct our business.
Right.
Without having, without causing a spike or a resurgence of this flu virus. But we just had to, then it became the political battle. It's the Democrats are saying it's all the Republicans' fault because I don't know, whatever it was. Yeah. And the Republicans are saying the Democrats aren't helping the little guy out because they want to get money for this or whatever. And it's a big political debate in Washington on both sides of the aisle. But in the meantime, as a small business owner, it's all we want to do is figure out how we're going to pay our bills and keep our house.
Thank you.
I'm not, and so I decided with that group, and I knew quite a few of these contractors, and I've used a lot of them in that were making these comments. And so I started a separate page called the Washington County Small Business Coalition. I just did that, and in the little preamble of that page, it says this is not a political page. We're not here to debate the Republicans or the Democrats or whatever.
Joe Biden versus Donald Trump.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, at this point, who cares?
Yes, we are here to become a network to actually be able to speak our mind, to be able to help each other. To be able to find out what each other, what each person's doing. And we had a lot of communication, and there were up to a couple of hundred people now that belong to this group, and we're adding a couple more every day.
And where can they find that group?
On Facebook. It's a Facebook group, and it's called Washington County Small Business Coalition.
Right on.
And it's all you do is you go on there, you click. You don't have to answer questions to get, It's just the only thing is that I approve people because, like any Facebook group, you get all these outside, I don't know what it is, hackers or whatever.
Right.
If somebody wants to get in there and sell
Trolls,
something. Yes.
riffraff,
absolutely.
deadbeats,
So I kind of, if you're not a Washington County business, we just, but we do have individuals that are in there as well because they've got, they've got a little skin in the game.
Sure.
So we got that group started, and then it was so that we could actually get real information. Okay, what are we allowed to apply for now? What are the rules? What are the regulations? And we know that we had people get on there because everybody kind of became a little watchdog as well. Today's the day, 3:00, get your paperwork in, to be able to file for the PPP, the Payroll Protection Plan, or the EIDL, or however those things worked.
By the way, those were very helpful. You attended an online webinar or something, correct?
Yes.
And you put some very helpful step-by-step information out there that, by the way, without your permission, I hope you don't mind, but I copied and pasted it and sent it out to a network of,
Absolutely.
450 independent contractors that I knew all over the country.
Right. Well, the EIDL was the Economic Impact Disaster Loans Program. That was the SBA's response to being able to help the small business. And what it is that it is a loan process, but it's very short. It's like 8 pages or something, but it's more just check the box. You're not going back and producing 3 years of financials and forecasts and everything else. You are essentially saying, I'm a small business. This is how much business I do. Here's my employer ID number. And you're answering so many basic questions. And then they're talking about, you really just have to show that this has an economic impact on your business. It wasn't difficult to do. I didn't have to get my accountant or my bookkeeper involved. It takes 15, 20 minutes. And I felt that was important for people to feel that, because originally we had a link to the SBA website to fill out a 25-page document that you've got to back up with everything to be able to hopefully get a loan. Small business people do not necessarily always have the best credit rating because they have sunk their life savings into the business.
I understand.
And when you have a slowdown period, of course, we're all coming just off of winter, which in the construction trades is not your best time to do work. So, your credit rating, you might have your credit cards run up and you might have less money in the bank. When you need the help, they're looking at this and going, well, we can't give you a loan. Right. You're high risk.
Yeah. I think it was Mark Twain who once said, by the way, that banks and lending institutions are, I think he described them as institutions who will lend people money who can prove they actually don't need it.
Absolutely. Trust me, all the years I've been in business, that is so true. That's one of the things I said. As soon as we really have some money in the bank, when they come to me, I just want to tell them no.
Yeah, I don't need you. So,
no.
Yeah, thanks.
No,
that's my goal. I must tell you.
Yes, absolutely. I want to be able to just tell the bank when they finally say, "Yeah, you know what? Things are looking up for you guys. We'd like to open you up a line of credit." I just want to say no.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks a lot, but no. But so it's, so we did communicate back and forth a lot on this. And that EIDL loan was so easy. And there was one of the benefits of that was the $10,000 grant advance. Sorry. Yeah. It's a simple box. You fill out the form, you click a box. It says if you want a $10,000 advance against the loan, that $10,000 advance becomes a grant. So you're not paying it back.
Even if the loan wasn't approved, you were getting the $10,000.
If you were denied the loan, if you were approved for the loan and kept it, or if you were approved for the loan and said no, you still got to keep that grant money. That was their lifeline, and I do appreciate the SBA for putting that out there. That was their lifeline to all of us, and suddenly, this group was filled with some hope. Yeah. Oh, thank God we filled this thing out. We clicked this box. If we can get a $10,000 check, fantastic. That'll definitely help to keep things rolling, and it doesn't pay a lot, and it sure doesn't take care of those 50 employee businesses, but it does help. Yeah. So there was a glimmer of hope in all of this.
And that was to be an advance of $10,000 per business, right?
Correct.
Didn't that change?
Yes, it did.
Are you going there?
Yes, it did.
Very good.
And of course, so what happened was that now when the EIDL came out, I filed, my paperwork was in, I think, within 2 hours of when it went live. I can't remember. I got an email from the SBA because I had put in some initial paperwork feelers, and I said that I got to hop on this because you got to be first in line.
Yes,
we
sir.
all know. And
there was only $539 billion or something allocated. Right?
Yeah, that's And so I jumped on there and I put this paperwork in, and then you sit and wait. Because you can't, the systems are overloaded, the networks aren't handling it. There's crashes going on all over the place. So you go on there and they have no one for you to call or chat with or anything else. It's kind of like, it's like throwing your worm in the middle of the lake and spending the rest of the week just hoping something happens.
Yeah. An email, anything at all. An autoresponder. Hey, I got your application.
Yes.
We're not thinking of doing anything with it at this moment, but we know you're alive.
Yes, right. You exist as a number in our system. It's like that would make you feel good. So we had that out there, but then I started seeing on our business group, our small business group, people were saying, well, I got a check from the SBA, a direct deposit. I got a direct deposit from the SBA, but it was like for $1,000.
Yes, I remember seeing that.
And then the person said, I'm a one-person business, so maybe they're not giving us all this money.